This is the Just Because Buzz special edition. We're going to do a Christmas stocking. It's an ornament by Blackbird Design, and it is in the 2003 Just CrossStitch Christmas Ornament magazine. So let's see, show you their finish of it is right here. And put some sprigs of greenery on the top of it. And probably my last FlossTube, I talked about filming this tutorial. I had started and done most of it, and when I was turning my stocking, I poked a hole in it. And I was talking about that on my FlossTube, and one of my viewers said, hey, I think there's enough selvage or room, not selvage, but seam allowance in the toe that I think you could probably turn it back out again, put the outside out again, and stitch, just take a, an inside stitch of that hole. And so that's what I did. And so I did repair that one. So I have this one, and we're gonna finish this one along with, I'm going to kind of start you on a new one. We need to add the hanger to this one, and then I think I'm going to be done with it. I'm going to leave it just like this. I'll probably put some greenery in it eventually, but this one just requires the hanger. So I'm going to point my camera down so that you can see. The steps that I'm getting ready to do would be adding the beading. So there's some beads here, just 8, but they just add a special touch. So we're going to add the beads. I'm going to show you how to do that. I have already cut my little stocking out. This one happens to be reverse of this one because when I cut my backing fabric initially to do the demonstration in the previous video, I cut this one wrong. So I thought, okay, well, I really want to use this, and it was already cut. So I decided to reverse my image and stitch it backwards, or reversed, I guess you would say, so that I could still use this and not waste it. It already has the interfacing on it, as does this one has the interfacing on it. Okay, so that's in the instructions in the book. So about my 2 pieces ready to go. Now that I have my interfacing on, I want to add my beads. That just kind of adds a little bit more stability for the beads. So I'm going to stop the video, change the angle of my camera so you can see me do the beading. And then we will do the stitching. I'm going to use my sewing machine, and we will do the stitching. Then we will come back and carefully turn it, and we will add the hanger, which is what I'm using is a beaded hanger, and then we will be finished. Okay, so I'm back and I'm set up, and I have my beads here. Oh, there we go. And then I have my thread with a needle, and I've come up where I want my first bead to go. And it's basically, I'm making a cross with a bead in the center. So I've come up where I want to start. I'm going to pick up a bead. It's helpful if you put them in a container so you can pick them up. And then I'm going to make a cross just like I was going to make a cross stitch. So if you can see that. Pull that through. And then I'm going, just like I was going to make a cross stitch, I'm going to come back up. So there's the hole. And then I'm going to go through the bead so it sits straight, and then go down where I would normally put my stitch to make a cross stitch. So there's that bead. And so there's a cluster of 3 at this juncture. So we're gonna come up kind of like a little holly berry cluster. So I'm coming up again. And I've got 2 strands of floss on my needle. And that was the instructions. I'm using Mill Hill beads. I don't know what size these are. They're not the real tiny ones though. They're more the regular size. And again, I'm making a just like a regular cross stitch. We just have a bead in the center. So then I'm going to pick up the other leg of the stitch and go through the center of the bead. And then down again like I'm making an X. Okay, and then you can just kind of take your thumb or your nail and just kind of fix it. Make sure it's straight. And then move to the next side, next one. So coming up there. And then I'm going to pick up my bead. And then go down. And then we're going to make our cross. Okay, so there's your first cluster of holly berries. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the next one, and the next one is not very close. So I'm going to run my thread underneath, kind of run it underneath my interfacing a little ways. And I think it'll be secure, being that this is still going to be, it's going to be stitched, you know, as a stocking, so it should not come out. All right. So we'll go to the next one. And I do put a knot in this and especially with this one, because this one is just a single bead, so I don't want it to come out. And this one goes, I'm having to look at this in reverse, so it's kind of funny. Okay, so we're going to go over to this side, and I'm coming up, and just the same, you're just going to come up, grab your bead, put it on your needle like that, go down like you're making your X, come up to make the other leg of the X, and you can kind of move it out of the way so you can see your hole, and then when you pull the thread, it'll pull it to where it needs to be. Okay, so okay, so there's that one. So let's see where the next one is. Okay, I'm going to tie off again. Say tie off, I'm just kind of running it underneath the stitches a little bit. And then we can just snip it. All right, so the next ones are they are over here. Let's do a little knot. I just do like a little quilter's knot, which is where you wrap your needle about 3 times, take your thumb and your forefinger and slide that thread down the whole length of the thread, and it makes a knot at the end. And so the next bead goes over here. We're going to pick up our bead. Go through the center. Okay. So then I have one more that goes underneath it. So I'm just going to slide down. It's hardly any distance. So I'm just going to go ahead and slide down. Pick up my bead. I need to straighten it a little bit there. And you can, like I said, you can kind of move it out of the way. Go through the center. Straighten it a little bit. All right, so that's gonna be that's it for that section. I'm gonna slide it underneath and snip that off and go to the next one. And I have 3 more to go and we'll be done with the beading. Okay, so this one, sometimes it's challenging to know where they're telling you to put it. So it's not a huge deal if I don't get it exactly in the right spot. Whoops, lost that one. Okay, here we go. I have it too far off camera. Okay. And you can just pull that bead out of the way so you can see it. See that hole? And there's a bead. And then there's one next to the, not too far from the last stitching. Whoops, totally unthreaded my needle. Okay, one moment please. Okay, rethreaded. Okay. All right, so I have that one on, and then I have one more. And I'm going to slide my thread underneath my stitching here, just ever so carefully in the interfacing, and I'm going to go to the next one, and it won't show underneath. And so this is the last one. Okay, there's that one. There it is going through the center and down to make my X. Okay, so there's your beading, all complete. Gonna run my thread underneath, cut it off. have your beading done. Okay, so next we're going to sew. So the part that we have to keep in mind for this step is we're going to put the back side of our stocking on top, and if you want to pin, you can pin. And probably just so I will remember to stop, or I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to sew from here to this end. And then they have you open up your stocking and measure the width of the top there, and that will determine how big your cuff should be, cutting how the width of your cuff, or the length of your cuff, I guess I should say. Eventually it's going to be it would, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Anyway, you'll see what I mean when I sew it. I'll press it, and then I'll show you how we're trying to get that measurement for the cuff. Okay, so I have my stocking under my needle, and I'm ready to sew, and I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch from the edge, and I'm going to sew from that point where I had the pin all the way to the edge, and then we're going to press that seam and then measure the length of the top of the stockings as they're folded out to get the measurement for the cuff. Okay, so there's my measure, there's my 2 pieces sewn together. Now I'm going to go press this, and then we're going to open it up, and we're going to measure from here all the way to here and see how big a piece I need for my cuff. Okay, so I have pressed my stocking and I measured, and it's 4.5 for me, and they recommend using a 3.5 inch piece, so it's 4.5 by 3.5. So I'm going to put right sides together here at the top, and I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam all the way across here. So here's my stocking with the cuff sewn on. Okay, and they want you to fold this back up. Okay, I'm going to press that, and then we're going to fold our stocking back over, and I'm going to continue sewing. Missing the camera. I'm going to continue sewing all the way around, and this time go all the way up the cuff, so then I'll have a cuff sewn on. So let me press this, and then we'll come back and sew it. Okay, so here I am, and we have the stocking all pinned together, and I'm going to do a 1/4 inch seam all the way around, starting where I left off. So I'll probably take a little back tack just to secure that. You can just go slow around the curves, just take your time. If you need to shorten your stitch length, you can do that. These little stockings have a pretty gentle curve, so they're not too difficult to sew. So here we have our stocking all sewn together. Now we're going to clip some of these curves to help with the ease of the fabric. It'll help it turn and give us some smooth edges when we're turning. So I'll clip the edges. We can do that together. Let's see if I can keep it in the camera here. Come this way. Okay. So I'm going to snip 2 but not through my stitching. I see where a few spots where my interfacing didn't adhere, so I'll go back and touch that up. Okay, so we clipped our curves, and I'm going to touch up my interfacing, and then we'll come back. Okay, so we're back, and I have my stocking all turned, or excuse me, all pressed, and we're ready to turn. So I'm going to use this tool, but I'm not going to use the turning tool I had used before that has the wire part that goes with this. That's where I messed up, where I had stuck the wire part pin into my seam on the cross stitch fabric side, and that's when I poked my hole. So I think this time I'm going to try using this tube and a chopstick to turn it. So let's see if this will work. So I'm going to try to make sure I hold it up in the camera, but basically I'm going to stick this down in here. And we're going to go like that. And we're going to start pushing this through there. And let's hope that it's going to work. And I'm not going to poke a hole this time. But we know we can fix it if that happens. So let's, as evidenced by the last one. So see if I can hold it so y'all can see it. So if you kind of help it along, it'll go. It's a little more challenging, and I hope I didn't just poke a hole. I might have just poked a hole. Oh boy. Maybe I did. We'll see. It kind of felt like it, but maybe I didn't. Let's see if I can just push it on. Pull up my cuff here. Okay, there we go. Let's see if I poked a hole in it. No, I didn't. Yay. Okay, so let's use our tool to push out our little toe. So that went much smoother. Yay. Okay. And there we have our little stocking. And we'll give it a good press, and we'll tuck our cuff in there. I'm going to trim these little threads, but I'm going to tuck it in there. And give it a good press, and then we'll do our hanger. So let's just tuck this in. You can go as far as you want to go. Try to get your top even. Okay. This one, then we have this one. Okay. I might check my toe just to make sure I've got it exactly, got it nice and smooth before I give it a press. And get all those little corners out. Get your seams out as much as you can. Make it nice and neat. You can kind of roll your fabric to the back so that that part's not showing to the front before you press. And give it a good press. Get your cuff just like you want it. Get it smooth inside so it'll lay nice. Okay, so I'm going to give this a press and then we're going to come back and do the hanger. Okay, so we're back to do the beading for the hanger. And I have some beads here. Some are bugle beads and some are just larger red beads. And then I have some DMC Pearl 8 cotton that I'm going to use for my string to attach the beads and then to attach it to the stocking. So I'm going to move my camera again so that you can see the beading, what I'm doing. I mean, basically I'm going to string 3 round beads and then 1 bugle and then 3 round, and then when I get it long enough to make the hanger, then I'm going to attach it into the stocking. So I'll show you how I do that. So that's what we're getting ready to do. Okay, so I have my stocking and I'm ready to add the beading. So I'm going to go in underneath my cuff here where I have the fold right here. I'm going to bring my needle up with a knot in it. And then we will start the beading. So I'm going to come right here and then I'm going to tuck this back in. So that I have my cuff folded back down again. All right, so now I'm going to pick up my beads. So I'm going to pick up 3 red round ones. And let them slide down. And then I'm going to pick up a bugle bead. And I believe I did like 7 sets of this to get the hanger the length I wanted it. So let's see how many we want to do. So there's 4 sets. Okay, so I've got 6 sets, so I want to go 1 more. Let's see, I'm ready to do a bugle bead. 1 more set of the red threesome. Okay, so there's that. And if we fold it down and just look at it, kind of give it an idea of what we have. I think I like that. So now I am going to go back through the first bead and go back down through that hole in my stocking, and I'm going to tie off. I think if I can get my thread to cooperate. And there's my hanger. Okay. So now I'm just going to take a very tiny stitch there at the top. Do a loop. And then do one more loop before I go tight. Push that knot down. Trim that off. And now you have your hanger. Get it in the camera. Okay. So we'll do the other one. Alright, so I'm going to tie another knot. I'm doing the quilter's knot where you wrap it and then take your thumb and your forefinger and slide it down the needle and slide it all the way down the thread. And then you get a knot. And we can trim that little tail. Okay. And then I'm going to open my cuff and I'm going to go back underneath. You don't have to do this. In fact, why don't we try it a different way this time? Why don't we just go, well, that would hide the knot though, so let's do it the way we had it before. I kind of like hiding that knot. The other one doesn't show as much that we finished with, but this one might show, so I'm going to come up through that little fold where we had folded everything down. I'm going to push everything back down to cover that up and get it back on the fold the way I had it. Keep getting out of camera, I'm sorry. Okay, so then we're back to picking up beads again. So I don't think I have exactly enough of the same color beads, so I'm going to do a variety this time. Still going to do the bugle beads between, but the other beads will be different. There'll be a variety of them in red, just kind of a different red and kind of a different clear one. We'll give it some interest. Okay, so while we're beading, do you have some favorite Christmas movies that you like? You can share them in the comments below. Probably my favorite would be It's a Wonderful Life. Haven't watched it yet, but that is my favorite Christmas movie. And just enjoy being with family and watching movies when we can. Watched a lot of football lately. Okay, so I'm up to 5 sets, so keep going here. What about favorite song? That's a hard one for me. I have a lot of favorite songs, and some of them are not real necessarily well known because they're on maybe my favorite Christmas CD One of them is Stephen Curtis Chapman. It's his very first Christmas album that I've about just worn it out. So I've got 7 on there now. So those are those beads. So I'm going to go back down through this first one like I did before, and I am going to catch a little bit of this where I had come out. And then I'm going to just do an ever so slightly little stitch and go through the loop once, pull it a little bit tighter, and then through the loop again and pull it all the way tight. And then we're going to tie off and snip off, and then there's your other hanger. So very fun. So let me turn the camera around. I'll be right back. So I want to thank you for joining me today. We finished 2 stockings. One we added the hanger to, and one we fully finished together. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you for joining me. If you have any questions about what I did, or any technique, or maybe suggestions, I'd love to hear your comments. And I'm thankful that this time when I turned it, I didn't poke a hole in the toe. But I'm also thankful for viewers that offer suggestions on what I can do to remedy the situation. So that was really sweet. I look forward to doing another tutorial. I have another one that I want to do, and while I have a quiet house, I may go ahead and film it and then post it another day real soon. So I hope you're having a wonderful Christmas holiday if you celebrate Christmas, and just a beautiful beginning to winter. I hope that winter doesn't bring a drudgery. I hope that you can enjoy the season even though it's cold, that you could find some warmth in it, whether through a blanket or through your stitching by the fire. And I just thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.